SIDF, SIDDF. SIDF is the formula of logic. SIDDF. Socratic, inductive, deductive, dialectical, and fallibilistic. This is the major formula for doing logic, applying logic, and understanding logic. If you want to understand logic, or wherever you read about logic, or study logic, apply logic, remember the formula of SIDF. This will give you the starter point to write on logic, describe logic, apply logic. SIDF. SIDDF. S Socratic, I inductive, D deductive, another D dialectical, and F fallibilistic. So these are the 6 methods: Socratic method, inductive method, deductive method, dialectical method, and fallibilistic method. 5 methods which we apply while doing logic. We have discussed in detail, and I have given you notes on Socratic method, which is question answer, inductive method, which is scientific method, and that is from simple, from particular to general. And then we discussed dialectical, deductive logic, which is from general to particular. Aristotle and Descartes, they are famous for deductive logic. Mill and Bacon, they are famous for inductive logic. Now Hegel was a philosopher who was also idealist, idealism. So we see a lot of similarities between Hegel and Plato. Hegel and Plato, or Socrates. Socrates and Plato, remember that they were teacher and student, and they were almost of the same ideas. I have to do some research. You can also do research that whether Plato opposed Socrates somewhere or not. Aristotle, yes. Aristotle opposed Plato in many areas. The top one is that Plato was promoting idealism, and Aristotle was promoting realism. In today's notes, you see, and yesterday notes, that realism is on the top. So who is the founder of realism? The founder of realism is Aristotle. Who is the founder of idealism? Plato. Plato and Socrates both are the same. Later on you can do your research that whether Plato opposed or criticized Socrates, or he took everything as correct from Socrates. It can be an interesting study for you. Myself, I don't know, because I have never come across any Platonic criticism on Socrates. So Hegel was impressed by Plato, and the Socratic method was then more was presented in a more sophisticated form by Hegel. It is exactly the same Socratic method, but the difference is that Hegel made it more sophisticated, more polished. Socratic method is simply question and answer, inquiry, critical thinking, while Hegel gave it a very broad phenomena. Hegel is famous for his theory of spirit, that there is a spirit in the universe, and he is famous for his absolute knowledge, that absolute knowledge is possible, and how the history works. So for this he gave the theory of dialectics, that there is a thesis, and then there is an antithesis, and then there is synthesis. Now remember that thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, these words are not used directly by Hegel, but we interpret it. That the way he used his words, his philosophy is highly complex and not easy to understand. So that's why we use thesis, antithesis, and synthesis as a example of to explain Hegel and his dialectical method. Now, what is dialectical method? Dialectical method is that there is a statement, we make a positive statement, then we oppose that statement, and then we arrive at a conclusion. Now, in deductive logic, we make a true statement, then we make another true statement, and then we make a third statement which is also true. But in dialectics, what we have, that is different. We make a statement and then we say, no, this statement is incorrect. And then we get third statement, and that third statement is the conclusion. This is why it is logic, but it is minor logic. Dialectical method of Hegel is not major logic, because its application is not purely like Aristotelian syllogism and his mathematical and logical formulas. Those are very, very clear. But Hegel, still it is logic, because it makes sense. Logic is the theory of truth. What is true? Logic tells us that this is true or this is not true. So logic is the language of truth. Where we find truth? By logic. We say, yeah, this is logical. What does it mean? It is true. In ontology, we study reality. If you want to see that whether something is real or not real, so that we study in ontology. And when we want to know that what thing is true and what thing is not true, so that we study in logic. So dialectical method is make a statement which is called thesis statement. Pakistan is a very poor country. This is a statement. Now, what is your response? You oppose to it. No, Pakistan is not a poor country because it is developing. So the conclusion is Pakistan is a developing country. It means that it will be not always poor. One day it will become rich. As many rich countries in the world, they were poor. But today they are not poor. So society and the process of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis continues. This idea was taken by Karl Marx very seriously, and Karl Marx then made his communism and Marxism based on this approach of Hegel. Hegel was his teacher symbolically, and he learned from Hegel this approach. The approach of Hegel was more scholarly, like in philosophy and to explain history and things like that. Karl Marx took this idea and put it on real life situations. And he said that dialectics run in the society. And as Imran Khan has written, dialectical materialism, which we will discuss, materialism we will discuss in ontology. Karl Marx, in your course, Karl Marx is in ontology section. But just to have a reference, that Karl Marx applied Hegel in his dialectical materialism. That this is not just ideas or discussions or philosophy, but in real life also this happens. There is a poor, there is a rich, and the poor opposes the rich. And then there comes communism, the product. So classes, they have clashes. Poor class, rich class. Poor class is thesis. Our rich class is a thesis, poor class is antithesis, and the synthesis is communism. A classless society in which all the people are equal. So those countries, they applied communism, they became equally poor. Everybody became poor. So this is about dialectical materialism. I have given you notes. Please do your own research also. Study dialectic method of Hegel in Wikipedia, Britannica, Google, YouTube. A lot of material is available on this topic. Is there any difference between truth and reality in terms of... Yes. Truth is linguistic word. I have given a detailed lecture on what is truth in Philosophy for Life moment. In Philosophy for Life moment, there is a search option. So write in the search option of the group, what is truth? So you will receive my 1 hour lecture that what is truth. Truth kya cheez hai? So truth comes from logic. Truth comes from logic, and logic is linguistic. Logic is language. In language we say it is true or it is false. Naeem Khan attended the class yesterday at 9 p.m. Is it a true statement or it is a false statement? So yes, he attended the class at 9 p.m. So this is a true statement. So this language is true or false. Now the class itself, or Naeem Khan itself, whether Naeem Khan is real or Naeem Khan is a machine or Naeem Khan is a ghost or Naeem Khan is a alien, extraterrestrial, what is the reality of Naeem Khan? So that we study in ontology. In ontology. So reality we study in ontology, truth we study in logic. Truth is linguistic form of reality. When we convert it into language, into words, it becomes truth. And the thing itself is reality. The statement about reality is truth. You can say like this. The statement about reality is truth. Now coming to the last philosopher in the logic, that is Karl Popper. Karl Popper is the philosopher of science. He died in 1994 recently, a modern philosopher and a very, very knowledgeable philosopher. His ideas like open society and stuff like that is, very, very impressive. Sometimes I read him and I, become like, oh, what deep depth in his ideas. His ideas are so deep, so profound. It shakes you from inside. So Karl Popper is a very, very interesting philosopher of science. And very recently, he died in 1994. So you can, when you read him, so you also feel that it is not like Greek, someone in 2,500 years back, or Descartes, or people, Nietzsche, who were 200-300 years back, but he very recent philosopher. So he gave us the theory of falsificationism, and his method is called fallibilistic method. Fallibilistic method. As he was philosopher of science, so his focus was on science. That what is science and what is not science. For example, we also have the pseudoscience. Pseudo, pseudoscience. Pseudo, pseudoscience means false science. It appears to be science, but it is not science. So, for example, telepathy and mesmerism, hypnotism, and these things appear to be science, but these are not science. NLP, neuro-linguistic therapy, people promote it as a science, but it is not science. These herbal sciences and herbal medicine and these homeopathy, some people think it is science, some say it is not science. Homeopathy and all these Hakim and Greek medicines and Unani medicines, Hamdard and Qarshi, and nobody knows how they prepare these. Many Hakims, quakes, technically called apothecary. So many apothecaries, many Hakim, they use steroids antibiotics, but they give it to people for quick recovery, and they say this is a very good medicine. So, what is science and what is not science? Pseudoscience is one word. It is not; these are not two words. It is one word, pseudoscience. So, his focus was on science, that what is science and what is not science. Now, science usually was said that when it is true, so it is science. When it is not true, so it is not science. So, this was the usual concept of science before Karl Popper. Now, Karl Popper, pseudoscience with small s. अब इतने बड़े बड़े बातें करते हैं ना, इतने बड़े कार्ल पॉपर, हीगल, डायलेक्टिकल मेथड, फॉल्सिफिकेशनिज्म, फालिबिलिस्टिक मेथड, लेकिन हमें स्पेलिंग ठीक करनी है जी. स्पेलिंग, कामा, फुल स्टॉप, ग्रामर, इन चक्करों से कब निकलेंगे? So, pseudoscience, when it is one word, so how can you make a capital S in the middle? No logic. So, Karl Popper told us that pseudoscience, how we will identify science and not science. He gave us a formula, fallibilistic method. It was a revolutionary method because everyone is fallible. ये जो हम कहते हैं ना इनफॉलिबल, ये जो शिया कहते हैं कि जी इमाम आर इनफॉलिबल, कि इमाम जो है इमाम ज़ैनुल आबिदीन और इमाम जाफ़र, इमाम हुसैन, ये इनफॉलिबल है. INFALLIBLE. इनफॉलिबल का मतलब क्या है? मासूम, कि इनसे गुनाह नहीं होते. फिर सुन्नी कहते हैं कि पैगंबर जो है वो मासूम है, इनफॉलिबल है, वो गलती उनसे नहीं होती. और फिर एक नया बरेलवी सुन्नी कहते हैं कि जी सहाबा भी इनफॉलिबल है, उनसे भी गलतियां नहीं होती. तो ये जो नामूस सहाबा, नामूस रिसालत और जी सहाबा को गाली देना या सहाबा को उसकी जो है ना बेहुरमती करना, ये वो गैर कानूनी करार दिया जाए, ये वो सारा, तो ये तमाम चीज़ें जो है ये इनफॉलिबिलिटी के चक्कर में है. कार्ल पॉपर ने कहा कि एवरीबॉडी इज फॉलिबल, देयर इज नो वन हु इज इनफॉलिबल. हर बंदे से गलती हो सकती है. एंड देन ही गेव द फार्मूला फॉलिबिलिस्टिक मेथड that person has to prove that he or she is not false. उसके प्रूव करना है कि वो फॉल्स नहीं है. अगर वो प्रूव नहीं करता तो फिर इसका मतलब यह है कि वो फॉल्स है. अगर उसके पास कोई प्रूफ है, कोई एविडेंस है, तो ले आए. एंड दैट एविडेंस शुड बी यूनिवर्सली वेरीफाइएबल. यूनिवर्सली वेरीफाइएबल, कि दुनिया का हर इंसान उसको ठीक कहे, हर साइंसदान उसको ठीक कहे, तो फिर वो फॉल्स नहीं है. अदरवाइज इट कैन बी फॉल्स. सो falsificationism, everything can be falsified. तो कार्ल मार्क्स का अपना कार्ल पॉपर का जो अप्रोच है वो ट्रुथ पे नहीं है, वो फॉल्सहुड पे है. वो फॉल्सहुड पे ज्यादा जोर देता है कि हर चीज झूठी है, हर चीज गलत है, हर बंदा गलत है, हर थियरी गलत है, हर साइंस गलत है. अगर गलत नहीं है ले आए, अपने आप को साबित करें. और उस कैसे साबित करेंगे? एम्पेरिकल एविडेंस जो है, सबूत, प्रैक्टिकल सबूत वो देगा. नईम खान कहते जी मेरे पास 1000 रुपए है, ये तो नईम खान का स्टेटमेंट है, वो झूठ भी हो सकता है. बताओ किधर है आपके पास 1000 रुपए? नईम खान जीप से 1000 रुपए निकालेगा, गिनेगा 1 2 3 4 1000, ये 1000 रुपए है. देखो ये जाली नोट भी नहीं है. वो सब कुछ उसने साबित करना है, फिर वो क्लेम कर सकता है. अदरवाइज वो क्लेम नहीं कर सकता, वो झूठा हो सकता है. न्यूटन भी झूठा हो सकता है, आइंस्टाइन भी हो सकता है, कोई भी साइंटिस्ट जो है वो झूठा हो सकता है, जब तक वो साबित न करे. So he brought a lot of changes in science, and it made scientists very, very conscious. कार्ल पॉपर से लोग बहुत डरते थे कि यार ये तो बहुत हरामी है, ये तो माफ ही नहीं करता किसी को. अगर मैं अपने आप को सच्चा साबित नहीं कर सकता तो इसका मतलब यह है कि मैं झूठा हूं। देखना, लोगों ने तो वैसे अपना एक बनाया होता है ना, एक कैरिज्मा, एक उसने जो है ना अपना एक रोब बनाया होता है कि जी मैं जो बात करूंगा वो ठीक ही होगी, मैं तो जो गलत, मैं तो पीर साहब हूं, मैं तो जो है ना साइंसदान हूं, मैं तो न्यूटन हूं, मैं तो आइंस्टाइन हूं, मैंने जो भी कहा है वो ठीक कहा है। कार्ल पॉपर कहते हैं नहीं, ये इस तरह नहीं है। आपको साबित करना होगा कि आप झूठे नहीं है। आपको ये साबित नहीं करना कि आप ट्रू है, आपको ये साबित करना है कि आप झूठा नहीं है। सो दिस वॉज वेरी रिगरस, अ वेरी हार्ड मेथड, फालिबिलिस्टिक मेथड। इंसान जो है वो तो सुस्त है, वो तो बस ठीक है जी, पैगंबर ने कहा है, सहाबी ने कहा है, पीर साहब ने कहा है, ठीक ही होगा। कौन जाएगा पीर साहब से कहेगा कि जी तुम इसको साबित करो? इतना तो किसी के पास नहीं है ना, एनर्जी भी नहीं है। और कौन हर बंद के पीछे पड़ेगा कि जी साबित करो कि तुम झूठी नहीं हो? So this was the end of our philosophy lectures on logic, and next month we will then discuss epistemology, ontology, and other branches of philosophy. I have given you notes on every philosopher and every philosophy or logic method that we have covered so far. पहले लेक्चर में व्हाट इज फिलॉसफी, नेचर ऑफ फिलॉसफी, स्कोप ऑफ फिलॉसफी और सोक्रेटिक मेथड, फिर डायलेक्टिकल, इंडक्टिव मेथड, डिडक्टिव मेथड, डायलेक्टिकल मेथड एंड फालिबिलिस्टिक मेथड। तो इन मेथड्स पे अलहदा नोट्स है और इनकी जो फिलासफर्स है उन पे अलहदा नोट्स है। तो अभी तक आपने कितने फिलासफर्स कवर किए? सोक्रेटिस, अरिस्टोटल, डेकार्ट, मिल, बेकन, हीगल और कार्ल पॉपर। ये 7 फिलासफर्स हो गए। इसमें से किसी भी क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, ठीक है। 7 फिलासफर्स, क्योंकि डायलेक्टिकल का एक फिलासफर है, फालिबिलिस्टिक का एक फिलासफर है, सोक्रेटिक मेथड का एक फिलासफर है, लेकिन इंडक्टिव की 2 है, मिल और बेकन, और डिडक्टिव की भी 2 है, अरिस्टोटल एंड डेकार्ट। ये 7 फिलासफर्स हो गए। और मेथड्स कितने हो गए? 5 मेथड्स। हाँ, तो मौलवी वगैरह तो एक्सपोज करते रहते हैं, लेकिन फालिबिलिस्टिक मेथड ये कहता है कि बंदे ने खुद बताना है कि मैं झूठा क्यों नहीं हूं। अगर आप कोई क्लेम करते हैं तो फाल्सिफिकेशनिज्म ये है कि एवरीथिंग कैन बी फाल्सिफाइड। फालिबिलिस्टिक मेथड ये है कि एवरीथिंग इज फालेबल। फाल का मतलब है गिरना, हर चीज गिर सकती है। ये साबित करेगा कि मैं नहीं गिर रहा, मैं ऊपर जा रहा हूं, मैं ट्रू हूं, मैं फाल्स नहीं हूं। ये बंदा अपने आप को साबित करेगा। अगर मैं कोई स्टेटमेंट देता हूं तो मैं उस स्टेटमेंट को झूठा न झूठा साबित करूंगा कि ये झूठ नहीं है, ये सच है। ये मेरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है। बोनस ऑफ एविडेंस लाइज ऑन मी। ये फालिबिलिस्टिक मेथड है कि मुझे अपने आप को साबित करने के लिए मैंने आर्गुमेंट देना है, मैंने ट्रुथ देना है। ये नहीं कि दूसरा मुझे एक्सपोज करेगा, दूसरा मेरे पीछे पड़ जाएगा कि जी नईम खान झूठ कहता है और ये जगह उसकी झूठी है। ये नहीं है, ये उल्टा है। जो बोलता है, जो लिखता है, जो थियरी देता है, जो हिपोथेसिस देता है, जो फार्मूला देता है, जो साइंस देता है, वो खुद उसको साबित करेगा तमाम शवाहिद, गवाहों के समेत, तमाम एविडेंस, शहादत, गवाही के साथ जो है वो उसको खुद साबित करेगा। फिर हम उसको मानेंगे, वरना नहीं मानेंगे, वरना वो झूठा है। जिसने अपने आप को सच्चा साबित नहीं किया है तो कार्ल पॉपर के हिसाब से वो झूठा है। ऑल द बेस्ट, टेक केयर, गुड नाइट।